Hello, I'm Amanda Rayfuse, and this is Spark, the Upper Valley's new arts and culture program here on CATV. We're hoping to spark your interest in the arts by hosting one-on-one conversations that explore the depth and variety of culture here in the Upper Valley, to the amazing people who create and those who administrate, the artists who educate and the generous patrons who donate, the audiences, students, and consumers who enjoy and participate. Welcome to Spark. Hello and welcome to Spark. Today on the show we have two incredible artists. We've got Carla Kimball, who is a photographer, and Marie Fourcaut, who is a movement specialist and dancer. A little bit about Carla. She says she is a photographer of ordinary things. She's also a movement artist, a blogger, a group facilitator, a public speaking and presence coach, and burgeoning filmmaker. She believes in the value of the arts to expand people's awareness and the power of photography to quiet the mind. Her photography has been exhibited throughout New England and is in the permanent collections of both DHMC and Northern Stage, which is, of course, where she and I first worked together. You can learn all about Carla's incredible work on her website, revealedpresence.com. Marie was born in Algeria, raised in France, and began her professional dance career in Paris at the age of 16. She's worked with leading modern dance companies around the world, including collaborations with Martha Clark. She's taught yoga and her own movement classes at Dartmouth and throughout the Upper Valley for the past 15 years, and recently established Ensemble Marie, with whom she has created movement events at the Black Family Visual Center and the Hood Museum. She's also a founding member of the Junction Dance Festival. You can learn about their work at thejunctiondancefestival.org. Now, but today we're talking about collaboration. Carla and Marie took their two seemingly disparate art forms and began working together, using movement, photography, film, and music to create multi-dimensional, live, performative visual art. Their first collaboration was a movement piece and a film centered around Carla's photographic installment entitled The Red Chair, which they recently involved into a film installation at Ava Gallery called Memories in Solitude. I could talk to Marie and Carla endlessly. They're both very good friends and wonderful women about the myriad projects they've created together and individually. But today I really want to talk about the art of collaboration, the act of taking two seemingly unrelated art forms and binding them together to create something new and evolved. So welcome, ladies, to Spark. It is a delight to have you here.
Happy to be here.
So we're going to jump right in to all the interesting and fun questions. My first question is actually for you, Marie, as an artist who has long been, really dance is a very collaborative art form. You're used to working with people. You're used to working with ensembles. I'm just curious, what makes the collaboration with Carla work?
First, we have to talk about the pandemic. We have been on for a year, more than a year. And Carla called me last March a year ago, saying, Marie, do you want to do something? We are all kind of paralyzed right now. And I said, no, I don't feel like it first. And then I was tempted. She tempted me. And we went to the Ava Gallery in Lebanon. And Carla had an installation there. And she said, why don't we, try to work together? We have worked together before, but this is an interesting situation where everything is shut down. We managed to enter the Eva Gallery and with our mask on and to start a dialogue. What can we do from what we had done before? And we started to film. Carla started to film, and we created a moment of solitude around her installation.
Mm-hmm. But what is it, Marie, about specifically this long, because like you said, you've worked together on several different projects and iterations of this project.
Yeah.
What makes this relationship, this creative relationship with Carla work? You mentioned that you have a history together, and I know Carla had worked in the movement classes.
Yes, a history together. We have moved together for many years. Mm-hmm. So there is already a language we have in common through our bodies. we have the sense of trusting each other, and we laugh a lot, even in hard times. And that's, we laugh because we are surprised at ourselves sometimes to just be like kids. What can we do? What can, we have this playground, or we are imagining a playground. But in this case, we had the installation of Carla. And yes, the trust. We don't really need words. We have the body language that we have used for many years. We have the music, in this case of Alec Diva, who is a wonderful person we want to work with more, collaborate more, because music is very important. And so that sense of joy, curiosity together, the language of the body, and the trust with each other.
Wonderful, beautiful, beautiful. So Carla, if it's okay, I'd love to get a little specific and actually use the Red Chair project, which was the inception kind of your creative work together, as an example of your process. And just to give a little context for our audience, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but my memory is that the Red Chair, really, the project started as a series of photos of a simple kitchen red chair in a variety of spaces, reflecting on the idea of home and ordinariness and extraordinariness. And then you started to evolve that by taking the photos and printing them onto fabric and putting them into different spaces and feeling wind and movement in that. Can you talk a little bit about how that then evolved to the next step of working with Marie and other members of the ensemble to further that project into its iterations, the first iteration?
Sure. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit here and say that originally I started out with still photos. And then I was invited to do a sculpture installation at Sculpture Fest in Woodstock, Vermont, at their King Farm facility. And then they gave me a cabin that I could work in. And my question at that time was, how do I take a two-dimensional media, photography, and make it into something that will feel somewhat sculptural, make it into something that will feel three-dimensional. And I'd always been interested in how to print my images on different media. And in thinking about what I could do at Sculpture Fest, I decided to try printing on fabric. I didn't do it myself. I sent it out to be printed. But then I ended up, because the cabin had wind blowing through it and snow coming down. I mean, it was really kind of open to the elements. It was a roof, but it was still pretty open to the elements. I thought it would be really interesting to see what would happen if I cut my images into strips, the fabrics into strips. And so at that time, what happened was that I was telling in class, Marie is my teacher, my dance teacher. And in class, I told Marie, I'm thinking about doing this thing with my photographs, with cutting into strips and all that. And Marie was thinking, well, how do you do that with photography? And so I said, well, why don't you come out and I'll show you. And that really started the collaboration. The red chair was something I had found at King Farm. It was a found object at King Farm. And I started to move it around in different places. And all the images in the show were part of the red chair. But then Marie came in, and then we started to move together and explore what was possible with this. And that was really the beginning, in my mind, of our time together, of our collaboration together. And as Marie talked about, we have these other things that we've done together, many other things, and we continue to do all these things together.
Excellent. So I would love to actually, just to contextualize this further at this moment, show a little clip from that first project. So here is a little moment from the original Red Chair project.
Yeah, that's why I'm playing with the texture, on my skin. It's interesting.
Absolutely extraordinary, beautiful. And like you mentioned before, Marie, that also want to mention that featured another collaborator, Alec Diva, the music of Alec Diva, who is one of my faves. He's so incredible.
Yeah.
that leads me to the question, to both of you, now that you have this artistic relationship, what makes you decide when you want to work together again? Or, you know, what's the impetus for a new project together? When's the moment that you know, man, you know what, I want to get together with Marie and work on this next thing?
Carla calls me, say, Marie, do you want to go on an adventure today? I said, okay, I'll go with you. You know, that's really Carla who is initiating those adventures in a beautiful surrounding, you know, in the Upper Valley. And I don't ask more questions. I say, okay, what do you think, Carla?
Yeah, so I just get these sparks of ideas, and that's why I love this show. I mean, because my world here, in terms of my creative adventures, are all come from single sparks of ideas. And I say to Marie, who's always willing to go along with me on these things, how about if we do this, or how about if we do that? And occasionally we take other people along with us in those journeys. But it always starts with Marie and me, and it always starts with, I would say, all the work that Marie and I have done together. There's a lot of still images, but they're primarily focused on the video, the filmmaking, and so when the spark happens, we go. We might scout out the location, but I will be taking photos and videos all the time, and then all of a sudden, it begins to evolve. And we don't know at the beginning what it's going to look like at the end. We have no idea. And oftentimes it becomes something very different than what we originally anticipated.
I love that expression, creative adventures, and that you guys are, you know, traveling buddies on these creative adventures that you go on, and you don't know where you're going to end up. Marie, you mentioned before that the sense of trust that is required for that kind of collaborative relationship. Because yeah, you're each letting the other person drive in a way on these adventures.
Well, I also think that it has to do with our ability, with having moved together so often in class. I took class with Marie for 10 years, and there's a quality of sensing into each other that happens when we go out, so that we're kind of on a wavelength of some sort that seems to work really well.
Yeah, I would say so.
You know, Amanda, if I may add, I used to want to bring something I knew already because it was securing for me. And with Carla saying, no, let's try something new, or let's see what happens, I had to shed my sense of control in a way, or my knowledge of, you know, what it means to create art. I had to let go of that and just work with the moment, and to trust that moment together, and to be open to new discoveries. So it takes courage, you know, to let go of what you know, but it's so fun, you know. Like I say, it's like being children again, and I love that sense of freedom
and play. It feels like play, right?
At the same time, I'll say that with our projects, once we dive in and something begins to surface, something begins to become apparent, it's clear that then Marie needs a sense of, there's a narrative that she needs to be able to find within herself in order to be able to take it wherever it's going to go from there. It's not that we have the narrative to begin with, but it's clear that we need to have that narrative eventually. It's not just a random set of images. There is a narrative that evolves, and that often we have to do it several times to find it.
Yes, yeah. And that's part of the evolution of the piece, I would imagine.
Right.
So if it's okay, I would love to show just another clip just to show everybody how the piece has then evolved from that first King Farm iteration into your most recent iteration at Ava Gallery that Marie talked about earlier. This Moments of Solitude. I'm so sorry, I just lost the name of it. Is that
Memories in Solitude?
Memories in Solitude. So we'll take just a moment and watch this second clip. so totally incredibly beautiful and so different, going from this large group outdoors to inside, and just the feel of it is so different, and yet it's the same materials, right? It's the photographs and the red chair and people. So that evolution of the creative process, I think, is really extraordinary. And that adventure you were talking about of not knowing where you're going to go and then figuring it out, I think is extraordinary.
And not having an ending in mind, not having an end result in mind. Some of the stuff, what we saw in terms of the video in the woods, as part of that, I was just taking video. I had no goal in terms of where the video was going to go and what was going to happen to it. It was just something that drew me in and allowed me to sort of capture it, that I could then use sometime later.
It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
So I always like to end these conversations, and of course I could talk to you guys for hours, and we do often talk for hours. But I'm so grateful for you letting us into your process a little bit. But I love to ask if each of you, especially with this idea that you brought up of going on creative journeys, if each of you could maybe share one thing that our viewers could do to grow trust or open themselves up to that kind of creative adventure seeking.
So I think for me, my sense, especially this year, is to go back to my body. And I often in my classes, whenever there's doubts or I don't even know what we're going to do, I ask everyone to close their eyes and to move inside and to start to feel, to not be afraid to feel what's happening in ourselves at that moment, and maybe put some music to inspire you to move, but to trust also that you have a beautiful body, and the body is amazing, to when you start to listen, and it can, you can start to move your shoulder, maybe just that, or maybe just your head, or you just your hand, and then from that place something else comes, and to let it be. So to let the body moves you, yeah, I like that too. Your body moves you instead of you moving your body. Maybe,
Letting go of control a little bit. Yeah.
To explore that idea. So that's what I would say to someone who doesn't know what to do. Maybe.
I love that. Yeah. And also take a class with you, because, I've done that in the past, and you're right. There's a freedom.
Yeah.
You have such an incredible way of guiding people to find freedom in their own bodies and with other people. You really are, Marie, I think, an incredible midwife for collaboration.
I like that.
What about you, Carla? What would you say to our viewers, one way to sort of create that sense of adventure, creative adventure and collaboration?
Yeah. So I think it really goes back to my days of photography, when I was photographing ordinary things, and the things that we typically just step right over and we don't even see, or we walk right by and we don't even see. And for me, I knew I had a good photo when suddenly I would be stopped in my tracks. And there was something there that drew me in. It would be the most ordinary thing, but suddenly through the frame of my camera, I'd begin to see it in a very particular way. And in Marie's class, what I would find is that there is a quality of feeling so alive in being embodied in that way. And so there's these qualities of allowing ourselves to be open to the moment, to be aware in the moment, to be available to what is out there in the moment, and to look for those moments where we feel joy and awe and the sense of aliveness. And allow those to be present in your experience, and then see where they take you.
Beautiful. Wonderful. You guys are so incredibly lovely. Your work is both individually and together spectacular. So I hope everybody will go to revealedpresence.com and check out what's going on with Carla, because I know that's where you will post what's coming up for the two of you, correct, Carla? Like if you've got new videos or projects that are on the way, that's where people can.
I need to be better at that, but yes, I
Yeah, you better before this airs.
Yeah, before this airs, I'll get it up there.
Excellent. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me on Spark.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. Thank you so much. You are wonderful.
This is really fun, and putting language to this was really fun to do too. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching Spark, the Upper Valley's arts and culture program here on CATV. You can always subscribe to CATV's YouTube channel, and you can learn more about each guest by visiting their websites as listed in the episode descriptions. Thank you for watching Spark.